And we're back, folks. Chris Waters here on the main stage at GameSpot's E3 2013 coverage. And it's my pleasure to welcome Brian Fleming, founder of Sucker Punch Studios and producer on inFamous Second Son, to the stage. Brian, good to have you.
Oh, it's nice to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, inFamous Second Son, you guys showing off some very fiery gameplay at the Sony press conference. How has it been to really start to get more information about the game out there and show it off to people?
Oh, I think people are really excited about seeing some actual gameplay footage, and so yesterday, we got a chance to show that here in the theaters. We released it online yesterday afternoon, and the response has been really great. So it's been a good show for us.
Very cool. All right, well, let's start off. inFamous Second Son. It's got the infamous name, it's got that spirit, but whole new protagonist, different time frame as well. Yeah. So lay the groundwork for folks as we check out this trailer.
So, this game takes place certainly in the inFamous universe, but it's a new origin story, and the protagonist this time is Delsin Rowe. He's a 24-year-old kid who kind of grew up in the Pacific Northwest on a reservation in the shadow of his older brother, who happens to be the town police officer, and you saw him a little bit in the trailer from the press conference.
He's got an older brother I never would have guessed.
Yeah. He is, in fact, the second son. That's exactly right. So, so Delsin has kind of always been the underachiever of the family, and early in the story, he discovers that he's one of the hunted. He has the conduit gene, and he develops superhuman abilities. And so
society in the intervening years has not gotten friendlier to people with these superhuman abilities.
No, it's 7 years after the end of the last game, and so the government does what the government would do, which is it creates a rapid response force to try and contain anyone who exhibits these superhuman abilities. And so Delsin quickly finds himself a target of that group.
Yeah, and these guys are not doing a very good job containing him. So we saw just like a quick melee attack, sort of a stealth attack almost, but then this little teleport forward. Can you talk a little bit about the abilities that we're seeing as that Delsin is unleashing?
Well, Delsin's first power in this game, and there are going to be multiple, but his first power is the ability to control and transform himself into smoke. And so here he's using it as a weapon, but he can also transform himself into smoke, and allows him to dash through and attack people. If he can rematerialize while he's going through you, he can slam you to the ground. So there's a really wide variety of things that smoke is good for. Here we're going to use smoke to dash through the ventilation system and get up to the top of the building, for example. So certainly some new mechanics for inFamous fans.
I really like that because, traversal of these open worlds is such an integral part of the inFamous gameplay experience, and that's a neat little trick to, is that fun to sort of explore the ways that, new powers can enable new ways to get around?
Yeah, it's actually, I think for us, it's the most important ability for any power set is how does it affect your ability to navigate through the world. I know on the last game people loved grinding on rails, and in this game I think the use of smoke to navigate, again, will be another highlight. You can see he just navigated off that bridge as it collapsed out from under him using, again, his smoke. Here he's going to transform into smoke and then glide across this enormous expanse.
Now, you keep saying smoke, but where there's smoke, there's fire, and his arms are turned into fire. He's got this like fire chain thing going on here. That's, he certainly has, forced by his circumstances, he has to hone his abilities for attack.
Yeah, I think that when we think of smoke, we think of that as the power source, and how it manifests is kind of smoky, fiery damage and navigation.
And these guys, it's interesting because the troops the government troops that he's fighting against, they seem to be wielding some powers themselves.
They do, and it really presents, I think, some of the more interesting thematic questions. If there's a group of people who are considered enemies, but then there are other superpowered people chasing them down, why is that okay, and where should the balance lie there?
If the government is demonizing those with superpowers and yet using people with superpowers for their ends, where does that moral line lie?
Well, I think that for us, there's a really interesting set of questions to ask about how much of our freedom should we give up in order to feel more safe and secure, and what are the right balances for governments and citizens to strike on these kinds of issues. And it turns out that it's actually super relevant. It's like literally the front page of the newspaper this week has been questions that are not identical, but certainly very similar to some of the themes of the game.
Absolutely thematically relevant to stuff going on here in the U.S. and moral choices and these questions even have been a part of the inFamous series from the beginning. And so will Delsin encounter times where he, like Cole McGrath, has to make decisions, has to choose his path, has to choose how to handle a situation, and there's going to be consequences either way?
Well, I think that we think one of the most interesting questions philosophically about anyone who got superhuman abilities is, what would you do with them? Would you use it for good? Would you use it for malice? How would it affect you? Would it corrupt you? Does power corrupt?
I think yes is the answer to that.
Well,
I think.
absolutely, yeah. But I think that we view it as central to the inFamous franchise that the choices you make along the way, they affect the development of the character, they affect the development of the powers, and they affect the progression of the story. And so I think any fans of the inFamous universe should expect a similar style of experience in this game.
All right, so we've talked about what in the first game was kind of a karma system. Oh wow, that was a large explosion.
The orbital drop.
I knew when you put the dinosaur skeleton in there, I knew you were going to destroy it, and lo and behold. Sorry, T-Rex.
Yeah.
So one of the other systems in inFamous that people really sort of cotton on to, and you alluded to a little earlier, is the skill system, and how as you go through the game, you grow in terms of your powers and your abilities. I imagine you don't want to get too specific about that stuff at this point, but what are you trying to recast that in any way, or do anything new for Second Son that you learned from inFamous?
Well, I think the most important change for us is that Delsin doesn't just have one power set this time. We're certainly here talking and showing the smoke power set, but Delsin's unique kind of singular ability in this is that he can encounter anybody else who's superhuman and draw the powers out of them and take on a variant of those powers himself. So a huge part of the progression is going to be acquiring and then mastering new power sets along the way. So smoke is just the first.
And we saw the guards using what maybe looked like kind of an earth power, like creating those ledges as an elevated sniping position, and so maybe we'll see that one. And I imagine you guys are those moments where you discover a new power, you meet someone with something new. That must be a pretty exciting moment.
Well, I think what you should expect is that there will be a pursuit. That you're going to need to figure out who these people are, find them, and then acquire their powers. Hopefully with their. Anyway, yes.
Yeah. So here we're going to look at the trailer and excuse me, the First Son, and this relationship, I imagine, is going to be pretty key to the story, to the setting of the game.
Yeah, Reggie and Delsin's relationship is kind of the central kind of spine of the narrative, and Reggie is he's a police officer, and his brother suddenly becomes an outlaw, and it presents some good conflicts for Reggie and for them to decide how they're going to work together and work out sort of the issues that they have between themselves, as well as solve the core problem, which is getting Delsin the powers they need to go back and take care of their loved ones.
To protect him and to protect people they care about. Now, I think that the brother relationship here, in inFamous and inFamous 2, sort of Cole McGrath had his relationship with his buddy, Zeke,
yep,
if I recall. And Zeke was pretty enthusiastic about Cole's powers. He was like, all right, let's do this. You're a superhero. Interesting that you guys are taking the opposite take here almost. I mean, we're seeing certainly trepidation from Reggie in this, and I imagine that makes things a little more complicated.
Well, I think Delsin's personality is he's the kind of guy who's a little more excited about having powers maybe than Cole was. Delsin's been convinced his entire life that he was destined for greatness, and this is just kind of his moment. So he's pretty darn excited.
I was right all along.
He's really excited to have powers, and I think that Reggie is more cautious about that. In fact, he's a real non-believer in it. He wants to almost believe in the beginning that his brother can be cured, or it won't happen. It's okay. It's okay. He kind of has to go through that kind of grieving process with his brother.
The brother that I knew is no more. I have to incorporate this powerful new truth about my brother, and that can be tough.
It can be a journey for Reggie. So
I bet. All right, we've got some questions coming in here in terms of. A little power specifics, and it's all right if you can't get in here. Will7578 in the twitch.tv/GameSpot chat is wondering, about power recharge. Of course, Cole, with his electricity-based powers, drew from power boxes, power lines, eventually, and sort of the city feeding him.
Right.
And that was so much of how you move through, how you use your powers. Similar system with Delsin?
I think without going into too many specifics, we'll say it's a similar system this time.
All right. Frozen Synapse in the chat. How much stealth are you going to be using? Because obviously that's, you know, Smoke ability to get through vents and
right.
to sort of have those quick evasive movements seems to lend itself towards some amount of stealth.
Yeah, you know, this isn't a slow-paced game. This is an action game. I think if I was going to say the word I would use is it's great to surprise people, but this isn't a crawling around in the shadows, hiding under cars kind of game. You know, you are out there trying to kick some ass.
Some folks wondering about, you know, obviously Cole McGrath and his story came to a conclusion, but this is still a world informed by the events of those games. So will we be seeing some callbacks to those events, some, you know, references to the conduit and that kind of stuff?
Well, if there are any callbacks, small or large, they certainly wouldn't be something I would give away. I think those are for the fans who, you know, who love the game and they want to experience it on their own terms.
Yeah,
so we don't want to spoil it, you know, months and months before we ship the game.
That's one of those questions that you kind of think, like, do you guys really want to know the answer to that? Don't you just want to discover it yourself? But we're asking anyway. So question, I just lost it here. It was about, oh, it was a good one. Nuts. Oh, yeah. Destructibility. We saw the dinosaur skeleton. We saw the bridge that he was standing on. That's a huge factor in sort of moving you through the world and combat. What's your guys' philosophy towards how much of this world can be destroyed and what destructibility is good for?
Well, I think a big part of what making for us the leap to the next-gen console is that we can increase everything. We can make not just things more destructible, we can make the level of detail higher, we can make the particle effects on everything better, we can make the sound, you know, the whole system is HDR sound now, and so I think that's what's so fun about doing a sequel, you know, in the same universe but on a new console, because we can raise our game on so many axes.
And that's a really exciting prospect. And inFamous Second Son, one of the next-gen games that's really looking really awesome to me and dazzling people here at E3. Brian, thank you so much for coming on and talking about inFamous and Delsin's new, the origin story for Delsin. When can people do the buying and the playing?
The game is in the launch window. It'll probably be available on the first quarter of 2014.
Great. Awesome, Brian. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for having me.
inFamous Second Son, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're going to head over to the Tecmo Koei booth with Homer, the intrepid booth tourer, and then we're back here with Pro Evolution Soccer 14.